We were sitting at our chipped kitchen table, still pretending like life hadn't burst into flames around us. The cheap ceramic plate in front of Marcus held scrambled eggs, runny, oversalted, the way he always liked them. He stirred them lazily, not because he was savoring them, but because he was stretching the moment. He always did that before dropping something heavy. He barely looked up when he said it. "I need 75,000 more." Just like that, right between a sip of orange juice and a bite of toast. As if he were saying, "Pass the ketchup." As if our finances weren't already roadkill on the highway of his ambition. My mug halted halfway to my lips, the coffee inside quivering. My brain stalled. Did I just hear what I think I heard? I set the mug down slowly. "I'm sorry, what?" He didn't repeat himself. He didn't have to. "Marcus, where do you think we're going to get $75,000? We're already buried. The bank owns our nights, the credit cards own our days. All we've got left is delinquent balances and collection calls." He finally looked up. His gaze was cool, detached, like he was evaluating a business risk, and I was the part of the spreadsheet giving him trouble. "It's not a question of where, Naomi, it's happening. I already signed the deal with the contractors." Boom. That sentence landed like a punch. My heart skipped, then slammed into my ribs. I stared at him, my voice brittle like thin glass. "You finalized it without telling me, again." I didn't raise my voice, I didn't have to. The ice in my tone said enough. He dropped his fork, it clattered against the plate. His eyes sharpened. "Yes, because while you're worrying about grocery bills like some underpaid office drone, I'm working on a legacy. That house will put us on the map." The house, he meant the monstrosity by the lake, his passion project, his architectural love letter to his own ego. A sprawling beast of polished stone and glass with more rooms than we had needs, bedrooms we'd never sleep in, balconies with views of nothing but Marcus's own delusion. "It's a bottomless pit," I snapped, "and it'll take everything with it, our future, our past, everything." He stood up so fast the chair screeched on the hardwood. "It is our future." His voice was thunder now, full of something sharp and rusted with rage. "You'll never understand. You think small, you think like an HR clerk whose job is to punch hours and keep her head down, but I can't afford to think like you. When the senator comes to dinner, he needs to see prestige. Power, not your little tomato plants." My hands clenched under the table. "Those tomato plants are the only thing feeding us lately." That was the wrong thing to say. He knocked his glass over. Water spilled across the table in a silver river. His fists were clenched, his face twisted. "I am done with this, done with your criticism, your martyr act. You're like a stone around my neck. I'll handle it myself." I didn't argue, I didn't fight. You don't argue with a storm, you just try to survive it. "Get dressed," he ordered like a general. "We're leaving." "Leaving?" I asked, blinking. "Where?" "We're going, we have papers to sign, confidential." He scanned me, judging, always judging, and then said, "Don't bring anything, not your phone, not your purse." "Why?" "Because I said so." And that was that. 16 years of marriage had trained me not to argue. When we first met, Marcus had been charming, ambitious, magnetic, that kind of man who looks like he's going somewhere. And he was, straight up the city council chain, right into the back rooms where deals were made behind expensive cigars and dirt-covered handshakes. Somewhere along the way, I became background noise in his grand vision. Silent, small, contained. And so I obeyed. I threw a jacket over my shoulders and walked out the front door, left my keys, my phone, my instincts. All of it. We drove in silence. The city passed us by like a film reel in slow motion. Block after block, then gone. Concrete gave way to flatlands, then gas stations, then strip malls, then nothing but the echo of tires on a cracked road. I asked the question again, where were we going? Marcus didn't answer, just clenched the wheel harder. When he finally veered off, it was onto a narrow county road with weeds reaching up like arms from both sides. No signage, no lights, no reason. The car rolled to a stop beside something that barely resembled a bus stop, a rusted shelter with a dangling strip of tin roof. He turned toward me. "Get out." At first I thought he meant to park, stretch, let me smoke or walk or cry. "Why?" I asked, confused. "Because we're here." "Here? There's nothing here, you said." "Out, Naomi." That was the moment, that was the last breath of the old life. I stepped out onto the dirt without arguing because I wasn't sure if this was real or part of some twisted punishment. Marcus didn't even turn off the engine. "Marcus," I whispered. He leaned out the window, smiled, a cruel little curve that didn't touch his eyes. "There is no mating, no papers, there's just you, and a decision." "What are you talking about?" "You didn't want to support what I needed, so now, figure it out yourself, good luck." Then, with dust rising like spirits around the tires, he hit the gas. And vanished. I stood there for a long time. First came disbelief, then rage, then fear. Then the silence. You never know how loud quiet can be until you're caught in it like prey. No purse, no cash, no ID, no phone. Just empty hands and 20 miles of emptiness. I slumped onto the bench and bit my lip until I tasted iron. My body shook from the inside out. But I wasn't alone. At first I thought the lump in the far corner of the shelter was trash, but it stirred. An old woman emerged from the shadows, thin, cloaked in a long pea coat, sunglasses wrapped around her face like armor. Her long cane tapped the concrete. And then she spoke in a voice like rust and old leather. "Stop crying, it doesn't help, trust me." I flinched, she never turned to look at me. "He leave you here?" she asked, voice as casual as if asking for the time. I barely nodded, tears creeping down my cheek. Figures, men like him always need someone to stamp on before they can take off flying. I exhaled shakily. "Want to make him regret it?" she asked. I looked up, that got my attention. "How?" A low chuckle escaped her lips. She tilted her face, not sightlessly but knowingly. "My driver's coming, sit beside me and pretend you're my granddaughter. That man, your husband, let's just say tonight he made a very dangerous mistake." A black car came rolling in from nowhere. Elegant, silent, deadly. The kind of car that screams untouchable. A man in a gray suit stepped out, opened the passenger door reverently. "Ms. Vance, the car is ready." "Darius," the old woman said, "will have company. My granddaughter will ride with us." The driver didn't blink. "Of course." He opened the door for me like I was royalty. I stepped in, the leather swallowing me whole. And like that, Naomi, the left-behind wife, ceased to exist. Someone else took her place. The silence inside the car was deeper than outside. Everything was soft, leather seats, atmospheric lighting, even the hum of the engine. Not a single bump, not a single word, just the whisper of luxury cushioning me as I tried to make sense of what had just happened. I looked at the woman beside me. She hadn't said a word since we left the roadside shelter. Her sunglasses still covered most of her face, even here in the dim cabin. Her cane rested against the door like a royal scepter. She looked like someone who wasn't used to being questioned and didn't like being explained. "Thank you," I said reluctantly. She didn't turn, she didn't smile. She merely nodded, like this moment had played out in her mind long before I ever showed up. We left the last of the suburbs behind. The roads grew polished again, the turnoffs more exclusive. Streetlights gave way to long private drives and cul-de-sacs with security gates every few miles. Eventually, we reached a set of stone gates so massive they looked capable of surviving a nuclear blast. They hissed open, no creak or groan, machinery in perfect condition. The house was a fortress. Nothing warm, no flowers in the yard, no signs of family or comfort, just stern red brick walls and a sense that nothing went in or out without permission. The driver, Darius, opened the door without needing a cue. The old woman stepped out like a queen alighting from her throne, not a flicker of vulnerability. Then she turned and motioned for me to follow. "Come inside, Naomi." She used my name. Not dear, not child. Naomi. I followed. The interior matched the exterior, expensive but sterile. Gray, beige, dark wood, heavy curtains closed tight. The kind of place where if someone vanished in your presence, you wouldn't know how to explain why. We entered a sitting room with high ceilings and an enormous bay window, though the curtains were drawn tight here, too. "Sit," the old woman said, gesturing toward a stiff sofa. I sat cautiously, like the cushions might bite. She remained standing in front of me. Then, with one slow movement, she removed her sunglasses. And her eyes. They were not blind. They weren't even old. They were piercing, sharp, steel blue, and filled with a terrifying clarity. "My name is Eleanor Vance," she said simply, "and I know everything about you." "I what?" "You're Naomi Sterling, 38, regional administrator at the steel plant downtown, married to Marcus Sterling, age 42, city council seat contender, a man who just left you on the side of the road like you were a broken umbrella." I sat frozen, the air caught in my lungs. "That wasn't a lucky guess," she added. "It was a script I've seen before, different costumes, same betrayal." She walked to a bar cart and poured herself a glass of water, her gestures unhurried, almost regal. "He'll tell people you left after an argument, that you started screaming and jumped out of the car, that you're hysterical, prone to episodes. He's probably already changing the locks, moving out belongings, covering his tracks." My spine went rigid. Yes, that's exactly what he was doing. I didn't need to be there to know it. She turned, holding out the glass. "Drink, you're going to need your strength." I took it with shaking hands. "Why are you helping me?" "Because I can, because I want to, and because people like Marcus, that kind of man, don't get punished often enough." She settled into a chair across from me. "Besides," she added with a dry smile, "it's always good to have a smart, angry woman in your corner." It was more than just kindness. And not quite revenge. It was strategy. She explained everything, her reach, her resources, that she had entire filing systems of dirt on the city's untouchables, that her name, whispered in political offices, still meant something even if no one admitted it. She offered me a room, a phone, an unregistered number with only 2 contacts, hers and a lawyer S. "Josiah Wells," she said, "he's the kind of man people hire when they want to make other people sweat. He doesn't blink, he doesn't bargain, and he never loses." "How can he help?" She rested the cane against her armrest like a declaration of war. "Let's start with the apartment. From what I understand, it's yours by inheritance, left to you by your parents." I nodded. "Marcus can't touch it, not legally." My throat went dry. "But he'll try." "He already has, I can smell it, and trust me, Naomi, whatever he's planning, it's dirtier than divorce." She stood up. "You need to go home," she said. "What?" "You need to see what's been done. Nothing motivates like first-hand betrayal." She didn't explain further, she didn't have to. An hour later, Darius was driving me through the city again, the lights bleeding like ghosts through the tinted windows. This time I wasn't crying. I was alert, ready. A different kind of pain had replaced the fear now. It was purpose. When the car pulled up to our apartment building, the streetlights lit the sidewalk in soft pools. My home stood just as I'd left it, right down to the potted plant on the 3rd-floor landing. I climbed the stairs. My foot hovered as I reached for the keys still tucked into my coat, the same ones I'd left with that morning, and inserted them into the lock. They didn't fit. I tried the second set. Nothing. I froze as realization coated my muscles with ice. He changed the locks. I stood back, staring at the door like it was a stranger. Then I knocked. Marcus opened the door. Nothing. A neighbor peeked through the peephole and shut their door before I could even speak. No one wanted to get involved, not in marital theater. I called Josiah Wells. He changed the locks, I whispered. Expected, don't speak of your husband, call the sheriff's station. Say the locks were changed while you were out, allude to intruders. Is that going to work? It will get you documentation. Documentation gets us leverage. 20 minutes later, squad car. 2 deputies, one young and Skittles eating. The other looked like he remembered rotary phones. What's the problem? I live here, I left this morning. My keys don't work, the locks were changed. Got ID, title to the apartment. Inside. Dead-eyed blink. Good story. We stood there in bureaucratic limbo until I heard the sound that still curdles my blood even now. Footsteps. 3 people appeared on the landing, Marcus, Tiffany Chambers, and someone I hadn't expected so soon, a smug lawyer in a tailored suit with a folder under his arm. And on Tiffany's neck, my mother's heirloom pendant. A single, irregular pearl cradled in gold. Something snapped inside of me. That's my necklace, I said. She smiled like I'd just told her the sky was blue. Is it? Marcus gave it to me, said it needed a better neck. Marcus stepped forward with crocodile concern. Naomi, there you are, darling, where have you been? We've been so worried. The officer blinked. The uniform gave Marcus fake authority. She's going through something, Marcus continued. Unstable episodes, I had to change the locks for safety, her doctor recommended space, we filed the proper paperwork, it's all here. He handed them documents. The sheriff scanned the restraining order, the divorce petition, and the purchase agreement. The sale of my apartment. My childhood home. My signature perfect, identical, forged. This isn't right, I said. That's a fake, I never signed this. The young deputy turned to me. All the docs look legit. Perhaps you need to head down with us and get things resolved formally. Congratulations, Marcus whispered low just for me. You lost, no home, no job, and pretty soon no credibility. You're done, Naomi. Josiah appeared just as they prepared to escort me downstairs, but there was no shouting match. Just dead air. We had no proof. I had no apartment. That night I slept on cold sheets beneath Eleanor's fortress roof. She summoned me by noon the next day. Her eyes held no sympathy, just ruthless analysis. You let him beat you. Silence. I gave you resources, a lawyer, a foundation, and you showed up empty-handed because he had a paralegal and a prop necklace. I looked up, barely holding back tears. What should I have done? He's got everyone, the police, the media, the neighbors. She leaned forward. Then stop trying to fight him in the ring he owns. Don't go through the court, go through the people. She paused. He wants the public's approval, that's his weakness, that's where we hit. How? Eleanor handed me a silver card with raised lettering. An invitation. Tomorrow night, charity gala, downtown. Everyone who matters will be there. Politicians, CEOs, judges. Marcus will be giving a keynote, and you'll be there too. Doing what? Asking him a single question, one he has no answer for. And what's the question? She smiled. You'll know. Mourning broke over Alina Vance's estate with the subtle violence of a verdict. The sun bled through the shutters like a spotlight, as if the universe itself was watching. I hadn't slept, not really. Alina's words still rang in my head. You'll know the question when the time comes. But I didn't want to wait for instinct. I wanted a plan, I wanted control. At that moment, I didn't know the true shape of the night I was walking into. Estelle, the ghost-like housekeeper with the precision of a Swiss clock, entered my room around noon. She didn't knock. She never knocked. She held a hanger of midnight blue silk and matching heels like they were weapons in a war no one else could see. You'll wear this tonight, she said, like she was dressing a queen for coronation or execution. Size 10, perfect fit. I slipped into the gown hours later. It wrapped around me like armor, flowing but sharp. A single long slit up the side. Sculpted but not showy. It said power without begging for attention. Estelle pinned up my hair without a word. She studied my expression in the mirror, her cold eyes unwavering. This is your battle, she whispered finally. Don't flinch. 6:57 p.m. Darius opened the door of the sleek black car just steps from the red carpet. Flashbulbs popped like distant thunder. People noticed me. Some didn't recognize me. Others did and did a double take. Me not in panic, not in tears, not barefoot on a roadside. But dressed in silence, looking like I had never been broken. I entered the ballroom with a strange calm curling in my stomach, like standing just a few inches beyond grief, the kind of calm where even fear loses its edge. The gala smelled of expensive perfume and buried secrets. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above a room filled with officials, donors, and politicians clinking glasses and lightly lying to each other with every smile. Marca stood on stage mid-speech. Gleaming suit, expert posture, practiced charisma. If you didn't know the truth, you'd trust him with your vote, maybe even your child's tuition. And as this city grows, he said into the mic, we need to think not just about infrastructure, but about values, about community, about trust. Trust. That was the moment. I moved. People parted. Not in fear. Not even in respect. In curiosity. Because something else entered the room with me, something electric, something sharp. A silence began to roll through the crowd like a slow tide draining sound from the room. Marcus saw me just as he was finishing up. Not Naomi, the wife. Naomi, his unfinished mistake. Our eyes locked. Just for a second. And I saw it. A flicker of fear. Tiny, involuntary, lightning fast. Ladies and gentlemen, he concluded, voice faltering only slightly, thank you for being part of a city that believes in progress. The crowd applauded politely. He descended the stage with fake modesty until he realized I was walking toward him. People were turning now, whispers spreading like fire in dry grass. He met me halfway. What do you think you're doing? He hissed under his breath. Asking one question, I said clearly, not just for him but for the entire room. And then I raised my voice just enough to land like a bell in the banquet air. Marcus, where did you find the right to sell the apartment my parents left me, without my knowledge, without my consent? He froze. Completely. Even his blinking stopped. People stopped drinking. One woman paused mid-photo. Someone near the back gasped. The room went into collective shock. I stepped closer. My lips barely moved. I want to hear you say it out loud right now. He didn't move. He didn't speak. Caught naked, nowhere to run. That's when she stepped in. Her, Tiffany Chambers. The costume always perfect. A pristine white dress, pearl earrings, crocodile smile. She looped her arm around his and faced the crowd. She's drunk, she said casually. Please, everyone, she's been sick for a while, mental instability, it's been tough on the family. She reached into her purse and pulled out her weapon. Her phone. Just watch for yourself. She pressed a button. The screen lit up. May. Laughing, slurring. Giggling at some family event, woozy and incoherent, waving my arms like a child, a birthday party. Someone must have recorded it and sent it to him. Lure her. This was last month, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany said smoothly. She doesn't even remember that night. Do you think she remembers paperwork? The silence changed. The crowd wasn't leaning in with bated anticipation anymore. They were backing away like I'd bitten someone. Someone chuckled. Another scoffed. A few turned and whispered. Judgment flash fast, unforgiving. I stood there, makeup perfect, nails immaculate, looking like power while feeling like paper soaked in shame. Tiffany's voice cut again. This is not a scandal, it's a sad story. A broken woman who's trying to destroy the life of a successful man because she couldn't handle the marriage ending. That stung more than the gasps around me. Because it stuck. Because nobody stopped her. Because in this world, confident lies outshine broken truths. They won. Again. That night, I ran out of that ballroom with every echo of laughter clinging to my back like knives. Darius was already waiting by the car. He didn't ask questions. Once we give your daddy his cut, we're out. Naomi will take the fall for the paperwork. Even if she screams fraud, they'll never believe her. She's already unstable. The article went live at 7:03 a.m. By 8:00, it hit 2 major outlets. By 9:00, it trended nationally. By 10:00, the governor's office issued an emergency ethics response letter. By noon, Mayor Alvarez held a press conference. And by 3:27 p.m., District Attorney Chambers resigned. But it didn't stop there. Marcus couldn't crow his innocence anymore. Bank records surfaced. The shell accounts were traced. Tiffany's passport was flagged at customs. Their flight canceled. Their assets frozen. Their story burning. 2 weeks later, I walked back into the apartment Marcus stole from me. The locksmith handed me the new keys. 3 locks, fingerprint sensor. Nobody was getting in without my approval again. The city offered me my old job at the steel plant. I declined. Instead, I launched something brand new. A division focused on civic fraud detection. Named after my parents. The ones who built this home from love, not lies. And Tia. She vanished. Outed publicly, fired from her firm, and blacklisted across most legal platforms. Last I heard, she was living under a different surname in a low-rent apartment far south of the city. Some would call it justice, but I just call it consequence. The one thing no one expected. Alina. She disappeared too. Sold her estate, dissolved her investment firm. No goodbye. No forwarding address. Just a brief note delivered to my apartment mailbox. No signature, just one sentence. You learned fast, that makes you dangerous. Be careful now, they'll come for you next. I burned the notes. Not out of fear, but finality. Elena had played me. Shaped me. Helped me. But I was done being anyone's instrument. The world had made me a victim. But I became the verdict. Today, I sit in the home that was once stolen. The light filters through clined windows, iron locks, quiet rooms. There are no more ghosts. Just memory. And choices. The kind where I finally write the final chapter myself. My window. It hit me in one cold, final realization. Tia betrayed me. My own sister. The one I trusted with the last proof of my innocence. The only solid evidence that could have cleared my name was now in the hands of the people who wanted to put me away. Tia gave me up. Why? Fear, pressure, money. Or worse, loyalty to Marcus. My stomach turned. The betrayal was complete. The cell was small, cold, humming with fluorescent betrayal. A steel cot, a flickering light, the ghostly sound of a woman weeping in the next cell down. I wasn't sure if it was her or me. They'd taken everything. My dignity, my name, my freedom. And the most searing betrayal didn't come from my husband or the mistress. It came from Tia. My own sister. The blood I'd cried over, the one I protected growing up, the one I trusted with my only truths. And she had handed me over to Marcus, packaged like evidence. Why? I didn't know. Maybe I never would. Detective Hayes returned on day 3, same smug expression, same mirthless voice. Confess, Naomi, make it easy on yourself. Cooperation gets you time off. I didn't answer. We have the signatures, the blue folder. The login credentials were yours. Even your sister testified that you went into the cabin in a manic state, paranoid, talking about getting revenge. I looked at him finally. Dead in the eyes. What are you even buying with your soul? He blinked. Just once. Like it registered, maybe I wasn't breaking after all. But my body was breaking. No shower, no sunlight, no contact, just my own breath and the quiet decay of faith. Until day 4. When the cell door clicked open. And Mr. Wells, my attorney, stood framed in fluorescent light. You're free, he said flatly, bail posted. Outside, Darius's car idled like a beast frozen in time. I climbed into the back seat like a ghost. Elena, I whispered, she posted it. Wells nodded from the front seat without turning. But her patience, he glanced in the mirror, is wearing thin. Back at the fortress, Elena waited like a silent statue. Gray robe, cold tea, no sign of panic, but her jaw, usually relaxed, was clenched. I sat across from her in silence. Your sister, she said without ceremony, we underestimated her. I did. You're not the only one she fooled, Elena replied. The police weren't supposed to act so quickly, but she gave them proof. She framed you with perfection. Only one question remains. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing like lasers. Why? I answered before she finished. Because she was never mine to trust. All my life, I'd been the older one. The responsible one. The one tasked with protecting her, even when she didn't deserve it. But Tia had always wanted more. Had always looked over her shoulder, quietly seething that she was the one people remembered second. I should have seen it. Her ambition was quieter than Marcus's, but no less dangerous. And when Marcus offered her a way to finally matter, finally belong, she took it. And sold me to do it. Elena stood. We can't fight this in court anymore. She walked toward her grand walnut desk, a podium of secrets. From the drawer, she pulled out a slim black folder and slid it across to Mr. Wells. Leverage. He opened it. Still precise, quietly impressed. Then he looked at me. If this is real, this changes everything. And Alina gave me a slow, wicked smile. Marcus thinks you're finished. Time to remind him that queens are not disposable pieces. The folder contained photos, bank transfers, memos, and one particularly damning email. From the district attorney, Tiffany Chambers's father, to a real estate mogul. Approval guaranteed if Tiffany's project gets priority zoning in exchange. The project. The shopping center. The one Marcus was developing. The entire thing a civic scam built on fake permits, bribes, hush money, and I was the signature that legally enabled it, or so they thought. You could trade this, Wells said, use it like a bargaining chip, blackmail them all, get the charges dropped, quietly disappear. Just walk away, I asked, like I was never here. You'd be free. But so would they. That wasn't good enough. Not anymore. They de-stolen everything. My home, my savings, my name. I wouldn't give them my voice, too. That night I called Leonard Price, the ex-reporter who helped find Marcus's digital trail. I told him everything. No holding back. Then I gave him the black folder. This doesn't go to police, I said. This goes to the people. We launched it the next day. A press leak disguised as an anonymous whistleblower. A viral package of photos implicating the district attorney. Bank transfer proof. Video outlining the fake permits tied to the shopping center project. Documents confirming sealed-off land was awarded to insider bidders, including one registered under Marcus's shell company. And the cherry on top. A phone audio recording. A familiar voice, Marcus's voice, swearing to Tiffany. 2. A folder of building permits and blueprint documents, sealed with the City of Midtown Architectural Commission's watermark. My hands trembled. The passports were fresh, biometric, stamped and ready. 2 people, Marcus Sterling and Tiffany Chambers. Matching aliases, matching exit dates. It wasn't just betrayal or ambition. It was an escape plan. They were preparing to disappear. I dove into the paperwork. It was about the shopping center project on the city's outskirts, a new land redevelopment scheme Marcus had been obsessed with for months. But every approval, every step of the development, it all traced back to my digital signature. Not the physical kind. The internal system signature I used at work, the one only accessible to admins in the secured office server. He copied me, I whispered, horror blooming. He used my login, my ID certificate. It wouldn't look like his crime. Not on the surface. It would look like I had greenlit the fraud. Millions in construction contracts, land use manipulation, fake expense billing. All traceable to me. My head spun. Marcus hadn't just framed me. He was pinning a federal financial crime on me. He would vanish with Tiffany the moment it detonated. And I would be the smoking crater left behind. I fled the cabin with the documents clutched tight in both arms, the blue folder and padding envelope jammed deep into my jacket. I ran to the road like hell itself was behind me. Darius was waiting. His eyes scanned my clothing, not in curiosity but calculation. Everything all right. Drive. I couldn't go back to Alina yet, couldn't drop a bomb until I knew who to trust. So I called the only person who came to mind in that moment. Tia, I whispered into a burner phone. My sister groaned sleepily on the other end. Naomi, oh my God, where are you? Marcus said. Don't say his name. Silence. I lowered my voice. I'm not okay. I need you. I found something, a lot of something. I can't trust anyone else. Please, meet me. We met quietly, a 24-hour diner on Central Avenue. It smelled like old grease and burnt hope. She was already there when I arrived. Eyes wide, hands wringing. I slid into the booth and dropped the folders onto the table between us. Oh, she stared. Frozen. These, I said, tapping the blue one, are the real apartment documents, the ones that prove I never sold anything. Oh my God, Naomi. These, I said, tapping the second folder, are the permits he forged, a scam involving public lands, dummy contracts. He used my credentials to approve it all. Wait, Yes, he's leaving soon with her. These passports are theirs, probably fake names. Tiffany has friends in immigration. Tia's face turned pale. She touched the top page. You could go to jail. I know. Tears blurred her vision. What are you going to do? I don't know. I stared at the stacks, the weight of evidence, the poison of betrayal. I want to hand it over to someone who can actually help, but every prosecutor's in his pocket. She hesitated, then said, What if I take it? What do you mean? Let me deliver it all to Andrew. You remember him, my old classmate, the lawyer in New York? He runs his own firm. Big, independent, no connections to this city, no fear of local backlash. My heart thudded. Do you trust him? He owes me big. She smiled sadly. Besides, I'd never let Marcus get away with what he did to you. You're my sister, we fight. I handed the documents to Tia, the only person I thought I could still trust. That night, I slept deeply for the first time in weeks. I hid the apartment folder under my mattress at a leaner, S. But I felt lighter, like I had a shot. Until morning came. And everything collapsed. A knock on the front door. 3 men entered, 2 in police uniform, 1 in plainclothes, a badge. Detective Major Hayes, Federal Anti-Corruption Task Force, we're here for Naomi Ann Sterling. Alina rose from her chair like a statue made of steel. On what grounds? Document forgery, public fraud, misuse of digital authorization related to unlawful disbursement of construction funds. All I could do was stare. They handcuffed me, raided the guest room, and emerged with the blue folder, the apartment documents which I had hidden under the bed in case Marcus came for them. These were flagged by an anonymous informant, Hayes said. Exact location disclosed. My mouth went dry. Anonymous informant. Only 2 people knew where I had hidden that folder. May and Tia. As they loaded me into the car, I saw him. Standing at the bottom of a leaner's driveway. Well-dressed. Grinning. Andrew. Tia's friend. Her classmate. The lawyer from New York. Only he wasn't looking at me like a savior. He was smiling at the detective. They shook hands, clapped each other's backs, then pointed toward the window. I sat back in my chair. The whole picture was beginning to reshape itself. Marcus hadn't left me just to erase blame. He was being choked by someone in the shadows. And if I found out who that was, I could burn this entire castle of lies to the ground. The pieces were shifting. Marcus, my husband, my betrayer, was more than just a selfish man with political dreams. He was desperate, cornered, paying someone every month in silence. Blackmail. But what secret needed a bribe that big? And how far had he gone to keep it buried? Leonard, the washed-up journalist with the instincts of a bloodhound, paced the room with a stack of bank statements. His tiny apartment reeked of cigarette smoke and tinned coffee, a war room for collapsing empires. "He's been making consistent payments to a dead-end shell company," he muttered. "No physical address, no phone, registered offshore, classic ghost operation." He dropped the papers. Whoever is behind this, they knew how to hide. I stared at the dates, the amounts, the trail of guilt dressed as transactions. "He paid them even when we couldn't afford groceries," I whispered. "Because they had something bigger than his credit score," Leonard said, "something he'd lose everything to keep hidden." He lit another cigarette. "We need leverage." "Where would he keep something that incriminating?" I asked. Leonard looked up, thoughtful. "If I were Marcus, somewhere you'd never look, somewhere no one would dare go." And just like that, it clicked. The cabin. My father's old place in Willow Creek. We hadn't touched it in years, no Wi-Fi, no plumbing, no heating, but it was private. Marcus hated it, called it a rat-infested tool shed, which made it the perfect hiding place. "And my father," he always said, "the city is where you lose things, the country is where you hide them." That night, Eleanor Vance arranged transport. We didn't talk about why. She simply raised an eyebrow when I told her the name of the town, then handed me a structured canvas duffel. Documents, flashlight, gloves. "You think I'll need gloves? You think you will." Darius drove me, but as we approached the edge of the forest near Willow Creek, he stopped. Right at the gravel split in the road. "I wait here," he said, 2 hours, no more." I nodded. The woods were darker than I remembered. The cabin loomed ahead, sunken into the ground like a memory trying to stay dead. The front gate was still locked with the rusted padlock Marcus refused to replace, but I knew how to climb the fence. I'd done it 100 times as a kid, only this time my arm caught on a nail. I felt the sharp slice, the warmth of blood. Didn't matter. I pressed forward. Inside, the cabin looked preserved in dust, yellowed curtains, cracked shelves, the same wooden desk in my father's old study, still bearing the faint imprint of his work. That's where he'd kept everything important. If Marcus had stashed incriminating secrets, this was the only shelter that would make sense. I opened the bottom drawer of the desk. Old birth certificates, my father's pension letters, medical insurance forms, receipts from hardware stores long vanished. And then, underneath, a hollowed-out book titled Budget Maintenance for Mid-Sized Manufacturers, the blue folder. I pulled it out with reverence. It was thicker than I remembered. Inside, the official privatization paperwork for the apartment, the title document, original wills, handwritten notes, watermarked certificates. Not scanned copies, originals, signatures in wet ink. My name, my parents, the city seal. Unforged, undeniable. This is it, I breathed, this can take him down. But as I stood, my foot hit something off, like a floorboard with a hollow ring. I froze. Knelt. Tapped it again. Loose. I pulled it up with effort, nails straining. Beneath it, a small box. Not just any box. A fireproof safe. Small, heavy, hidden enough to be forgotten unless you were looking. It had a 4-digit combination dial. I tried the obvious ones. My birth year, click. Dad's birth year, click. My parents' anniversary, nothing. Their wedding year, 1975, click, hiss, open. Inside was no cash, no jewelry. Just two things. One, a set of foreign passports. He never did. I slid into the back seat. No words, no tears, not even a breath. We drove through quiet streets surrounded by luxury I didn't belong to. When I reached the estate, Estelle opened the door silently. I went straight to my room. I stayed silent for a long time. Until morning. The next blow came before breakfast. My phone lit up with a call from work. Mr. Thompson. Naomi, this is difficult, he said briskly. Because of the situation, we're placing you on indefinite leave without pay. You know that video, not. It doesn't matter, he cut in. We can't risk a scandal. We're a public entity and employees reflect the company. I'm sorry. No, you're not, I said and hung up. He was. Another notification buzzed in. A text. From my best colleague. Short, impersonal. Naomi, please don't contact me again. I can't risk being involved. Hope things settle down. Take care. My name had become poison. By noon, Elena summoned me. She sat across from me in her dim study, robe flawless, posture regal. She didn't yell, she didn't scold. She just looked annoyed. You walked into a war with a butter knife. I stared at her, throat tight. I didn't know there was a recording. You didn't prepare, she snapped. You didn't predict their move. How could I? I'm not a mind reader. You shouldn't need to be. You knew Marcus. You knew Tiffany. You should have known they'd strike low. I stayed quiet. You want justice, and you came with emotion. She stood, walked to the window, voice sharpening. This is not about righteousness, it's about winning. Court won't help, the police won't listen. The public humiliates you faster than it saves you. I finally spoke. Then what should I do? Be smarter than all of them. She turned, eyes like road flares in the dark. There's one thread left, one thing Marcus doesn't want you to find, the reason, the real reason he's doing this, the desperation. The lake house. Bigger, she said, he owes someone, he's hiding something. You find that secret, you own the game. I looked up. Hope crawling back into my bloodstream. How? She stepped forward and pressed a crumpled name card into my hand. Find this man, Leonard Price, former investigative reporter, brilliant, angry, broke, and willing for the right price. I called him that same day. His voice sounded like whiskey and missed deadlines. I thought Elena forgot about me, he said with a hollow laugh. Tell her the ghost of journalism says thank you for the paycheck. We met in a dingy corner pub that smelled like old receipts and sour promises. He listened. And when I finished, he nodded slowly, expression somewhere between rage and admiration. Your ex is slick, but not that slick. Can you trace what he's hiding? Yes, but I need card statements, email headers, something incriminating. I handed him what I'd downloaded discreetly. Start here. 4 days later, he called back. We've got a pulse. What is it? Marcus isn't just broke, he's enslaved. Leonard showed me a list of wire transfers. Large sums, regular, always to the same nondescript holding company, every month. That's not a debt, Leonard said, that's blackmail.